Haaland has just scored his 162nd goal for Manchester City. And strangely enough, that may be exactly why he is almost impossible to make captain. Sounds backwards, right? The number one striker, a dressing room leader, the biggest star in the team. Yet the problem is that he scores too many goals. The issue is not Haaland. It is a very specific rule used by Enzo Maresca. Why would scoring a goal become a problem for a captain? Why does Maresca want his skipper to run back to the bench immediately after the team scores? And if it is not Haaland, who is actually the right man to lead Manchester City into the post-Pep era? In the summer of 2026, Manchester City entered a new era. After a decade under Pep Guardiola, Enzo Maresca returned to the Etihad, this time as head coach. He was no stranger to the club. Maresca had been one of Pep's assistants in the 2022-23 season when City won the treble. He then went on to manage Leicester and Chelsea before returning to Manchester. And as soon as his appointment was confirmed, one of the first people to message him with congratulations was Erling Haaland himself. That detail matters because this story does not begin with conflict. Haaland remains part of the leadership group, alongside Rúben Dias and Rodri. But Maresca brought an old habit with him. At Leicester and Chelsea, whenever his team scored, Maresca would have the captain run straight over to the technical area to receive instructions. Not for a substitution, not to check VAR, but to hear tactical adjustments. In his view, the few minutes immediately after scoring are when a team is most vulnerable to losing concentration. The opponent changes its approach, the rhythm of the match shifts, and your own players can get carried away by the emotion of the goal. There is only one exception. If the captain himself scores, he is allowed to celebrate freely. That sounds perfectly reasonable. Until the player being considered for the armband is Haaland. 162 goals in 198 matches, 3 golden boots in 4 seasons. Maresca immediately spotted the problem. If Haaland wears the armband, many of the moments when he is supposed to sprint toward the touchline will also be the exact moments when he is in the middle of a goal celebration with his teammates. Maresca even joked about it directly. If Erling is captain, we're dead. There's a problem there. Just imagine it. But do not misunderstand the point. Maresca is not saying Haaland lacks leadership qualities. He still has influence and remains part of the leadership group. Maresca simply wants the official captain to be more than a symbol. He wants that player to serve as a living link between the bench and the pitch. And that is where another name comes into the picture: Rúben Dias. In the friendly against the K-League All-Stars in Seoul, Dias wore the armband. Immediately after the opening goal, he ran straight to the technical area to receive instructions. It only lasted a few seconds, but it showed that Maresca's rule was not just a joke from a press conference. A center-back, positioned behind most of the team, able to see the whole pitch, experienced as a leader, and, most importantly, not the player constantly buried in a crowd of teammates celebrating goals like Haaland. If you judge it purely by the mechanism Maresca wants, Dias is clearly the better fit. But this story is bigger than one armband. Bernardo Silva, last season's captain, has joined Real Madrid on a free transfer. Rodri, a World Cup winner and Ballon d'Or winner, also looks almost certain to leave. Barcelona have already had an offer of more than £38 million rejected and are preparing to raise it to close to £60 million. So Maresca is not simply choosing a captain. He is rebuilding almost the entire leadership group from scratch. He wants at least one English player in that group. Phil Foden is the most obvious candidate. Foden himself has said that he feels the time has come for him to become one of the players leading the dressing room. Marc Guéhi, who has worn the armband for Crystal Palace and England, has also been mentioned. There is another important detail. For most of the Pep era, City's captain was chosen by a player vote, from Fernandinho and Gundogan to De Bruyne. Only last season did Pep personally appoint Bernardo Silva. Maresca is going even further. He will make the decision entirely by himself, with no vote. That is why small details such as who runs to the touchline after a goal suddenly carry much more meaning. Who becomes captain? Who belongs in the leadership group? Who delivers instructions on the pitch? This is how a new coach begins putting his own stamp on a team that has won almost everything over the past decade. The paradox is that football often assumes the brightest star should naturally become captain. But the captain does not necessarily have to be the best player. It depends on what the coach actually needs. For Maresca, the armband has a very specific function. The player wearing it must connect the coaching staff with every player on the pitch. And ironically, Haaland's extraordinary goal-scoring ability may be the very thing that makes him less suited to that exact role. The final decision still belongs to Maresca, but right now, Dias appears to be the leading candidate. Haaland remains part of the leadership group, and the English player spot will most likely go to Foden or Guehi. What matters most is not the name, but the philosophy behind the decision. Maresca is not choosing based on reputation. He is choosing based on function. So if you were Maresca, who would you choose? Rúben Dias, the system-perfect leader, ready to act as the coach's extension on the pitch? Or Erling Haaland, the biggest star, the goal machine, the player with the greatest weight in the dressing room? Pick one name in the comments. The season has not even started yet, but from the captaincy issue alone, we can already see Maresca beginning to reshape Manchester City in his own image. And the real question is not simply who will wear the armband. It is what Manchester City will become in the post-Pep Guardiola era. If you want more of the most interesting behind-the-scenes stories from European football, subscribe to the channel. But for now, who is your choice, Dias or Haaland?